Alright everybody, my name's Nick Jeffcoat, and I'm here today to talk about SodaStream. In particular, their Shame or Glory campaign. Just a quick agenda. We're going to go through an introduction that kind of introduces you to myself. Uh, Take a look at the executive summary, the creative work for the campaign. Then we're going to take a look at the research and the techniques the team derived from that research. And then we're going to look at what we can use in our own campaigns. So about me, my name is Nick Jeffcoat, obviously. I'm technically from here, but I lived in Houston and Kansas a lot before moving back here for college. And I'm actually moving back to Houston at the end of this class for work. I founded a company that does data analytics for the solar industry. We find customers that can provably financially benefit from solar, and we pair them with specific salespeople with which they're going to have chemistry based off the data we have and some pretty gnarly algorithms. But enough about me, let's talk about SodaStream. It was a 2016 campaign that used the Game of Thrones intellectual property, and it really focused in on millennials. Because of the research, they also presented SodaStream as an answer to climate anxiety, which was a really smart move. They produced 3 big videos and got over 100 million views, and this actually resulted in 7 cease and desist letters being sent to SodaStream by the bottled water industry, which, I guess that's how you know it's working. If your competition is threatening to sue you because your campaign's so good, good job. So the first ad that really kind of came out for this campaign was the Shame or Glory video here. It's really long and we don't have time to actually watch any of these, but in general, basically, it's the Walk of Shame scene from Game of Thrones. I haven't seen the show, but I've watched the ad. Recreated with this little tiny guy here bringing Thor some bottled water and getting shamed for using bottled water and not a SodaStream. They used some pretty provocative language for advertising in an attempt to get media attention. And that last line there that I'm not going to say is the kind of slogan through the whole campaign. The second video, Heavy Bubbles, is a lot more humor focused. Feels more like content and less like an ad, even though it is actually more ad by volume than the other video. This video actually occasionally surfaces on social media because it's really funny. So they've clearly done their homework on how to market consistently to millennials. And the last one, No Planet, No Christmas. This came out on December 4th, 2016, and was basically a hidden camera filmed store experience where Thor showed up as Santa and persuaded people to get a SodaStream instead of using bottled sparkling water. And it directly confronted consumer habits in a way that's really powerful, although, in my opinion, the humor from this one is less millennial and more like Gen X. It seems more like something you'd see on, I don't know, like Saturday Night Live or like a daytime talk show. So let's talk for a little bit about the research that drove this campaign. So they really focused in on their target, what their target liked, and what made their target anxious. So 50% of millennials prefer products that support causes, and 37% say they would pay extra for products that do, due to some economic factors that are pretty obvious to all of us, I think. Millennials prefer function over form a lot of the time. If it's not useful, they don't have space for it. And 80% want brands to be entertaining. They want content, not advertising. And in 2016, actually the study I saw was done in 2017, 45% of millennials had watched Game of Thrones. 26% had watched all of Game of Thrones at that time. And 19% had watched at least a little bit of the show. And there wasn't any data on this, but I mean, having lived through it, it's pretty obvious that everybody was talking about Game of Thrones. That was kind of the thing. So they picked a really good time to do some cross promotion. Now, the interesting thing is that because of the fact that they're targeting millennials, they went with a climate and environment focused campaign, and 72% of millennials experience eco-anxiety, which is pretty much just anxiety, like full-on diagnosable anxiety caused by fears about climate change, fears about even a climate collapse in some cases. And 56% of the people that were polled said that they were worried about overproduction of waste, which really just means that this SodaStream campaign hit the nail on the head. So from this information, the advertising team created or chose to implement a technique where basically you acknowledge the source of their anxiety. You flat out say, hey, bottles, even if they're plastic and even if you recycle them, are still bad for the environment. Reduce your use, don't just recycle. Heck, in that first video, it's literally like 2 minutes plus of just the little protagonist guy getting told exactly how shameful it is that he's buying a plastic bottle full of water instead of using a SodaStream. So that really amplifies the emotions in the scene. Even watching it for me, it was kind of uncomfortable for me to watch because of just how intense that anxiety and shame got. And then at the very end, Thor comes in. He hasn't been involved in the ad at all yet, and he presents a solution. Use a SodaStream. It uses less plastic. It's better for the environment. And it's a really, really clever bit of psychological, not exactly manipulation, more priming, I would say, but it's a really clever technique. So, what do we need to take away from this campaign? You really have to know your target. You have to know who they are. You have to know what makes them happy, what makes them anxious, and how you reach them. You need to know as much as possible about your target, in particular their emotional state. And you need to know how to affect that emotional state. You need to make them feel something. And not just a little something. You need the most intense emotion you can get out of your customer, out of your target, as possible. And you want to tie any positive emotions you create to the brand. Now, negative emotions are a bit harder. You don't want to tie negative emotions to your brand. That's suicide. What you want to do instead is you want to build that negative emotion, but then also present some catharsis. And as a result of that, you end up with positive emotions being tied to the brand, which is good. And you need to be clever, and you need to play the media. Use trends for attention. In 2016, Game of Thrones was really popular. And you need to be a little bit shocking. This campaign used language you don't normally hear in advertisements. And it used the mountain, a shockingly large man. So it was a little bit of media and social media attention. And then with that last ad, they made an event of it. They directly interacted with the consumer. And of course, with social media, you want to be creating content, not just advertisements. Thank you very much for your time.